we're getting into a conversation this hour, just coming off what we've been talking about, mentorship and leadership, and looking at a conversation with some folks who are doing it in a very interesting manner this morning. And our guests are here. Look, we understand that, there's a bit of, confusion here and there, but look, we are glad that you're here because these precious moments, I think, are very important for no matter how long we can have them. Our guest this hour, the Reverend Nick Korir, who is the founder and chairperson of the Private Bikers Association of Kenya. Two words there that we wouldn't think we would put together in the same sentence, but I'll tell you what those are in just a little bit. Reverend Nick Korir, good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Also, Havanna, she goes by one name. People go with one name like Ndu. Havanna, like Beyonce or Cher, Havanna. And she's a humanitarian aid worker and an adventure seeker. And they're both here this morning. And we're talking about motorcycling as a platform for leadership and mentorship. Havanna, welcome to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning to you and the team.
Good morning. And thank you so much for being here, both of you. And we're glad that we can, even for the time that we have. So in true Situation Room style, we want to welcome you to the hot seats with today's proverb. And you let us know what CT will tell us what it is because, he goes around the country. I don't know that he bikes, but, he finds a way to get to a different African country every week. And he comes back with the proverb every day for us for a week from one country. And we're in Uganda this week. So listen to the proverb. Tell us what you think about it and how you would relate to it. Is that all right? Okay.
Uganda, otherwise known as the Republic of Uganda. Mm-hmm. An elephant which kills a rat is not a hero. On the other hand, a rat that kills an elephant would be considered a hero. But
that would be news.
Yeah, but that isn't the proverb. The proverb is, an elephant which kills a rat is not a hero.
That's profound.
Is it?
It is.
Yeah, like basically just fight your own battles and don't find anybody who's less or who's under you because either way you're the one who's going to lose.
Wow.
So
choose your battles well.
So
there's no competition.
There's no competition.
Yeah, there's nothing to be proud of. Sorry.
You haven't achieved anything really.
Yes, nothing.
By beating the guy who's smaller than you.
Another man could step on a rat and wouldn't even know they've stepped on a rat.
Yeah.
And
a rat that even tickles an elephant is a hero.
Yeah, do something that's going to shake us. Yeah. If you do something that will shake us, then we can say, okay, yeah. That's the guy who's punching above his weight, Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so let's start off with you, Reverend Korir, Reverend Nick Korir, and then we hear Chairman of the Bikers Association. Okay, connect the two for us and say, so how are we? You're using this platform, obviously. We're talking through mentorship and leadership. So just open this up for us and tell us where we are and what are we using and how are we using this platform to achieve the other.
So Reverend is because I lead a church,
yes,
Nairobi Chapel,
yes,
on Gong Road. So
yes.
that's primarily what I do. I've been a pastor for 25 years, and most of those years I've actually been a youth pastor.
Yes.
So I have two passions. My greatest passion is the youth of Africa. And my heart and my life is all about raising the next generation towards God's purposes for their life. My other passion is adventure motorcycling. And for the longest time, I was asking, why? What's the relationship between these two?
Yeah.
And now I found a relationship. I use adventure motorcycling to be able to mentor and to lead and to invest in the next generation. And how I do it is, again, one of the greatest tools is education. So as a church, we run an educational, scholarship fund. And I use adventure motorcycling to raise funds so that I can be able to support young people through education. And as they go through their education, part of the undergirding part of the education scholarship system that we have is mentorship. So we mentor them as we provide education. So it's kind of education gives us an opportunity to mentor the next generation. Yeah, so that's the relationship.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's hear from Havanna, even as we then now go into the who's and the hows. Havanna, so how do you, an adventure seeker, a humanitarian aid worker, like you speak of, but how are then you entering onto this platform and how have you been able to work through that?
Okay, well, as mentioned, I'm a humanitarian aid worker, so I've lived and worked in refugee camps across Africa, and I've worked closely with children, especially in the educational sector, to ensuring they have the right to resettlement and opportunities to resettle to other countries such as US and Canada, and they get to start a new life, and education is like the foundation of that. So they're able to go to a new country and start a new life, get education, and they're able to have better lives. So the moment I heard about this ride, it takes one crazy to know another crazy. So I found my team, and I was like, this is something I would like to do, because I'm still a humanitarian aid worker, but just in a different aspect, raising money to educate children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going somewhere.
We are.
Okay.
And
Yes, we are.
As you go along, please do not forget. One crazy found another crazy.
I get it. One crazy found another crazy. Okay.
I hope we get company here.
Well, let's see. You never know where we could get to by the end of this. So we're going somewhere, and we're riding bikes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, go, Reverend Korir.
So Havanna and I are part of a team of 7 motorcycle riders, all Kenyan motorcycle riders that are riding around the continent of Africa. We are circumnavigating the continent of Africa. It's never been done before by African motorcycle riders. And so we started about 3 weeks ago. And the aim is to get to the 4 extreme points of the continent of Africa using the shoreline. So we took a trip up towards Ethiopia, desiring to go into Djibouti, into Somaliland, all the way to the easternmost tip of Africa. It's called the Khartoum point. So we wanted to go to the very extreme. Unfortunately, we were not able to get there. There were some military operations within Somalia that prevented us, and Djibouti prevented us from entering because of some technicalities. So we decided, no, let's abandon that part. Let's do the rest of Africa. Hopefully, we'll be able to get to the easternmost tip at the end of the ride. So we have 4 legs. That was the first leg. The easternmost tip. The southernmost tip is where we're starting off this Saturday to make it to Cape Agulhas, the southernmost tip of Africa. And then we will go to the westernmost tip towards Central Africa, West Africa, all the way to Senegal, Cape Almadi in Senegal, and then continue the trip to the 4th leg to make it to Tunis, which is called the Al Giran point. It's a northern tip of Africa. So that's why the Around Africa. So we'll be on the road with Havanna and the team for the next 4.5 months. Hopefully get back in May from the trip around Africa on motorcycle.
So when we're traveling, we're definitely enjoying ourselves. I am an inspiring biker.
Okay.
I don't know about the bike, but hopefully, inshallah.
I told you, we're in good company.
I told you, you never know what happens by the end of it.
Yeah, but as we're traveling, the underlying goal is to raise funds for education. So how, while we are riding and enjoying ourselves, how do we then also get to collect? How do you get to achieve that goal of collecting these funds for education?
Yeah. So it's not something we're starting, actually. We've been doing this for 15 years, and we've been sponsoring students for a long time. But each year, we raise the funds and then provide the scholarships.
Okay.
But, CT, you probably know about in donor fatigue. You can only go to someone so many times and get so much from them. And we desire to translate this scholarship fund to become an endowment fund that is more financially sustainable and that can be able to grow. We've been consuming our seed. What we collect, we give in terms of school fees. But now we want to collect and invest and allow the proceeds of that investment to be able to impact children through education as we pay school fees. So what we did is we came up with this 5-month fundraising ride to be able to raise money. We have different media partners that have stepped in, and we have different people that will run social media campaign over 5 months to be able to create a crowdsourcing system that allows people from all over the world to be able to give towards an endowment that will be able to support education. So we want to generate the seed capital of about 50 million shillings, because the endowment we hope should be about 150 million in terms of principal value. And with this 50 million that is invested, we can start the process over the next 5 years to build to an endowment that will support students into posterity beyond us.
Right.
students will be supported.
So Havanna,
I think I'm just also going to add on to that. We have a wonderful partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as well, who have connected us to all the embassies and consulars in the different countries you're going to be visiting. So the ambassadors there usually host us, and also the Kenyan diaspora, and they also help us to raise money to add more money to the endowment fund. Yeah, so that's why we're riding around. We're not just riding for the adventure, but also just to create more awareness in these other African countries as well.
There's a comment that's attributed to you, Pastor, that in the journey you've experienced, I'm going to give two extremities. You've been conned, and then you've also seen generosity that is out of this world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How are you conned?
I thought we'd start with the generosity part.
No. Generosity is a good icing. And let's start with how you are conned.
Let me give you an example. It's very difficult to travel in Africa simply because of the demand for visas. So the number of visas we need to access as a team is crazy. And the demands of those African countries, our brothers, in terms, I need to provide more documentation to get a visa to Morocco than to get a Schengen visa, to get into Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a point.
That's how crazy it
So
is.
how we got conned is, again, many countries like Kenya have migrated towards the e-visa platform. So you access that online. So you go online, look for the embassy, and, put in your details, and then they'll ask for a payment platform, and you pay. And then they process your e-visa. So very recently, while we were procuring one of our, visas, we confidently went onto the platform. There was a pay bill number, and we all paid. The next day, we went to the Moroccan embassy to be able to provide our documents. And they're like, that is not our pay bill. This is our pay bill. And we were shocked. And we're like, it's an official online platform,
Right.
And that money just disappeared. We had to pay afresh. We had to lodge our paperwork afresh. And it's just very, very difficult sometimes to even travel within
But how on earth would
your
you
own
know
continent.
that this is the true...
Exactly.
How would you know as a layman?
There was no way. And even the message that comes back, because they encourage you to do fast track so that you get your visa quickly.
Of course.
The message is fast track Kenya. That comes back on the pay bill. So it's verifiable even in that sense. So there are many ways to be conned, even from the onset, in terms of getting the visas.
Now let's talk
themselves.
of generosity.
So let me give a very quick story.
Yeah.
A Kenyan in a town called Bulehora in Ethiopia texts us or sends us a message on Facebook saying, I follow you guys. I'm all about what you're doing. Please stop and have a cup of tea with me in Bulehora. I just want to say hi to you guys. And I respond back and say, absolutely, we'd love to be able to do that. And we send him our contact details, and we start sharing. What we did not know is during our first leg, exactly 30 kilometers before Bulehora town, a town I'd never heard of before, one of our colleagues had a very bad accident and needed emergency medical help. And it happened 30 kilometers before this town that we were going to see this Kenyan. So we called them immediately. They came to our aid in ways I cannot express. He brought a vehicle, took her to hospital. After she got immediate medical treatment, drove her 4 hours away to a town called Awasa, because that's the only place we could get an airport, to fly her to Addis Ababa so that she can fly to Nairobi for medical treatment. He took the trouble, Bernard, from Bulehora, took the trouble to drive all the way, dropped her at the airport, came back, did all the paperwork that was needed to secure her motorcycle, put her motorcycle on a pickup that belongs to his friend called Bonaya, drove 4.5 hours to Moyale to bring the motorcycle back into Kenya, all at his cost. I mean, amazing generosity.
I mean, absolutely. And these are some of the things that we see here, because we often ask ourselves, here, and I think these things tie in directly to the reason why you do this in the first place.
Yeah.
And if we talk about some of the fundamental pillars that we hope will be achieved, and one of them here being, education,
Yeah.
and that you see that somebody's tapped into that. And it's not just because, Reverend Korir is a nice looking guy and then he, delivers a good sermon. Of course, I know, this is why we're here. Or that, Havanna's found her crazy, It's that, there is something that is being done that ordinarily would not be done, that at the end of this, there will be children that will be ensured that children can go to school. That children will be able to finish, that they will have a fighting chance whereby they wouldn't or originally have one. Does that continue to fuel then what you do? Just this story that you've given, and to say, okay, you know what, guys, what's the end goal? And there are people who are tapping into this and they're ready to now be able to push us on for us to continue lurching forward. Does it not just allow you to say, well, let's be on the road for 4.5 months to actually get this done? Havanna?
I mean, absolutely. It's definitely challenging being on the road, but every single time I remember why we're doing this, it gives me more hope. And especially just being in Ethiopia and seeing the number of children. Funnily enough, all the stops we made happened to be nearby schools, and all the kids would come running to us, and they were just wowed. And we're also just creating such an inspiration as well, especially for me as a lady biker. Most of them haven't seen ladies riding motorbikes as big as the one I ride, so it really inspires them as well. And I'm like, you know what, you're going to get this through education first of all. And just seeing the type of educational systems that are out there, and just putting a word out there for them to know that anything is possible, and the little that we can do is through education. And I keep saying that somebody equally gave a chance on us to go through education, whether it's our parents, it's our aunties, it's a school, it's a church, but somebody gave us a chance to go through education. And once you do one good deed, it's just a ripple effect, basically.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a ripple effect.
Yeah. How big is your bike? How many cc's?
Wow. I ride a Yamaha 900cc.
Why?
Yeah. She's called Luna. And she's a beautiful beast.
She had to be called Luna.
900cc.
900cc.
Yeah. You have to give your bike a name because you have to get personal. Like everything else in life, like a pet or, everything else in life, you've got to give it a name to have that bond, because this is my security on the road and my protection. So I need to take care of her.
Absolutely.
That is a very big pet.
Yeah, it's a very big pet.
Luna is a beautiful beast.
Yes.
I turned 50 this year.
Happy golden.
It's a very significant birthday for me, and we've called or tagged this ride 50 for a lifetime. And it's for a reason, because we hope that by raising the seed capital that we raise and locking it up in an endowment, we as a team can educate 50 students for our lifetime. And even our kids and our grandkids will ensure that these 50 students get hope for education for a lifetime. Many of us, when we have our birthdays, however significant the birthday is, we expect gifts. But what we've decided is, I have decided that during this 50th birthday, I don't want to receive gifts. I actually want to be a gift to someone, to provide hope for someone through education. And I pray that that attitude will be an attitude that many people grasp and realize there's a place to give. And even the Bible says it's more blessed to give than to receive. You move from success to significance. Because when you get something, you feel successful, but there's a place of significance where you live beyond yourself. You make a difference beyond you in somebody else's life, and you change a life for a lifetime. So I pray that this encourages many people to actually come up and say, what can I do that will impact beyond me to several generations after me?
How do you ensure, or first, how do you select then which children in schools, or which schools then will be, beneficiaries? And then how do you ensure that, it is actually completed for them?
So this, as I mentioned, this is a fund that has been going on for 15 years. It started in 2008. And what we did, because it's based out of Nairobi Chapel, the church that I lead, we drew a 5-kilometer radius around us. And there are 5 public schools within the 5-kilometer radius around us.
Yes.
And we have made a commitment that as a church, faith without actions is dead. We want to actually make a difference in young people's lives beyond spiritual nurture. We go to these schools every single week because the government in its curriculum gives us, an hour in the schools that you could be able to run a Bible club. They call it PPI. So we've interacted with these students for many, many years. But when they finish primary school, Currently, I think the drop-off rate is about 50%. It's just ridiculous how many young people do not get to high school simply because they cannot afford it. And we said, in our 5-kilometer radius, if there are any needy students, they can apply to this fund. And we've just localized ourselves and said we may not be able to make a difference throughout the city of Nairobi or throughout the country, but we will make a difference in the 5-kilometer radius around us. And over 1,000 students within 5-kilometer radius of Nairobi Chapel have been fully sponsored by the Logo Scholarship Fund. So they apply, they get vetted. There's a team that actually vets them. We visit their homes to ascertain that they're actually needy, that they're the neediest cases in the school. They come on board in the fund. And again, throughout the 4 years, they're part of this mentorship program. They come 3 times a year. They have a camp at the end of the year. Each of them has a mentor that walks with them throughout the 4 years. And it's beyond a check. It's actually a relationship that we build with them. So this is kind of how the scholarship, runs.
I mean, one would look at education the way it is a fundamental right for children of this country to access education. And we know the challenges that does exist within the education sector, and looking at how you're coming in to offer solutions. One would beg to look at you as the marking scheme, perhaps, that the government needs to look into so that our funding models get to work. So in terms of you working with the government to ensure that you pull your weight, the government pulls its weight so that all our children get to move forward, at those conversations you have maybe with the authorities?
Yeah, they participate. They participate. They have representation within the scholarship team itself. We work with the school and the education officers in the location to be able, again, to identify the social workers within the government that sometimes bring cases to us that need help, that need assistance. We try as much as possible to be able to work with them as key partners within the process itself. Yeah, but ours is to play our role. Too many times we point fingers at the government and what it's not doing. As a church, we've decided, let's do what we can to be able to support, be part of the solution and not be part of the problem. Not just identify the problem, but to actually provide a solution in a small way.
Beyond children then, going to school and ensuring that their future is secure, what do you hope this will do? What kind of ripple effect do you see that this would have on society, reverberating through even into the future? More people getting onto something like this, people coming up with their own initiatives. What would we see?
You see, Havanna mentioned something, how people are surprised when we stop and they see a lady riding a big bike like that. The profile of the adventure motorcyclist in Africa is changing because of what we're doing. People get surprised when we get into a town and we remove our helmets and we're African.
You're African.
We are African adventure motorcycles riders in our own continent. In fact, that's where all our problems came when we got into Ethiopia. We became an object of suspicion. What are you guys doing here? You are not the profile of an adventure motorcyclist. You must be suspects. You are here as, agents or something like that. And I pray that people get to appreciate the beauty of this continent and make a choice to not go to Dubai, but to go to Dalol in Ethiopia and find out the beauty that is in Africa. To make a choice not to go to the exotic locations, but to go to the indigenous, beautiful, sites that we have within our continent. And that's what we hope to bring out, to demystify what adventure motorcycling is and to allow more people to get the strength to do this. This is the second time I'm doing a trip like this. The first time was in 2013. We had never had an adventure motorcycling team riding from Kenya to Cape Town and back. But since we did that trip, I can't tell you how many people, probably 60 or 70 motorcycle riders have done it because they know it is possible.
It is possible.
So just charting new territories for people where adventure is concerned.
I mean, I wish we could talk about this for much longer, but, time just doesn't allow us to do that right now. But, first of all, I just want to say I think it's a fantastic thing. I think that even as you go off, in the next couple of a few days or so, that, you'll be safe and that, that what you do as a result of this definitely will be seen and established. Reverend Nick Korir is the founder and chairperson of the Private Bikers Association of Kenya, and Havanna is a humanitarian aid worker as well as an adventure seeker. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you for having us.
It's great to have you and great things that are being done here. Good morning.
Thank you.
This is the Situation Room The only way to start your day.